Good morning, Life Sciences partners. This broadcast goes to subject advisors, but also to teachers and maybe to learners and parents as well. The purpose of today is to mediate the revised curriculum plans, the revised annual teaching plans, as was done by national task teams from DBE. Because of the coronavirus, because of the pandemic, the whole year has to be rescheduled, and today we are talking grade 12 life sciences. My name, Ferdi Venter. I am the Provincial Coordinator for Life Sciences in the Free State. Welcome to this broadcast, and I hope that afterwards you will be able to go back to school, teachers, subject advisors in a supervisory capacity to tackle the rest of 2020. Let me immediately go to the presentation. And I'm not going to waste a lot of time talking to everything on every slide because we are limited and we also know that data is limited. So let us immediately move on. The purpose of this presentation is to look at the content overview for the phase. That means grade 10, 11 and 12 life sciences. We have to look at the decided amendments to the annual teaching plan, and then also the decided school-based assessment changes, in other words, amendments of school-based assessment for the rest of 2020 in life sciences grade 12. The purpose can be found in circular S2 of 2020. There you see it in purple. There is also a link that we have sent to subject advisors to follow, to get you to the DBE website where you can find the circular as well as all the documentation. And let me immediately tell you, after this presentation, I am also going to put all these documents on our provincial, the website that we used, and that is www.mindstream.co.za. At the end, I will show you the address again. What do we want? We want meaningful teaching from here onwards. We want guided pacing and sequencing from here onwards. If, of course, the situation in our country is of such a nature and schools start on the expected times and the schedule and the year calendar can proceed as is expected. Also, to cover the essential core content as well as skills, to assist learners with planning for different forms of assessment as well as teachers, and to ensure learners are adequately prepared for the subsequent year, and this is grade 12. The first document that you will find amongst, there's three basic documents for grade 12. It is this PowerPoint, it is the national phase content plans, and when you go to page 74 to 76 in that document, you will find life sciences. I am not going to spend a lot of time on this today. What you will see, just back to that, what you will see on those pages in life sciences in the phase content plans, this is what was used by the national task teams that was working on 10, 11 and 12, in this case grade 12 again. Clearly you can see in the strand life at molecular and cellular and tissue level, what we have done already in term 1 in grade 12 in 2020, which is done and completed, is DNA and RNA, meiosis, and then what needs to be done in the Free State still is genetics and inheritance of this particular strand. That you will see later on. That is where we will start in the new second term. Then I'm going to scroll down because nothing for grade 12 until we get to life processes in plants and animals. Reproduction, vertebrates, and human reproduction already done, term 1. We are going to start in term 2 with responding to the environment humans, in other words, the nervous system. And the topics there, you will see in the ATP, was reduced from 4 weeks to 3 weeks. And then secondly, in this strand, human endocrine system, and you will see it was moved from term 2 to from term 3 to term 2. And then we also have homeostasis as part of this strand. I'm not going to concentrate on the other two strands. When we come to 10 and 11, the mediation will look after that. And then, of course, diversity and change. Let me just quickly scroll back, make sure responding to the environment, then the human endocrine system, homeostasis, of course, plant processes in plants and animals. There's also a part, I think, that is missing there, that is not visible there, and that is the plant hormones and tropisms, which also need to be part of that section. And then the diversity, change and continuity. Human evolution, there is suggested changes there. Of course, the whole of evolution fits here, but there are suggested changes that if our program is interrupted again, then there is an idea of moving this part, maybe a term to the 4th term. But let me carry on, and then you will understand what I'm telling you. Environmental studies, human impact on the environment, grade 11 work, we already revised it in the Free State in term 1. There was hopefully enough time in term 1 to pay proper attention to this topic. If not, then there should be revision done during the time available and extra classes, maybe longer hours that schools are going to plan for. But this topic, according to our initial work schedule, should have been completed. Now I'm going to switch and show you the actual document that is going to guide you for the rest of 2020, and that is the National Revised ATP, or Annual Teaching Plan for grade 12. For that, I go to this Word document where you can clearly see that it is broken up into terms. Let me just explain this document. It is broken up into terms. What you see in front of you is the whole of term 1. It is broken up into weeks, week 1, from left to right, week 1, 2, 3, and here we have dates, because this was done actually in the first term according to those dates. Up to week 10, where we were supposed to work until the 20th of March, but you will remember that schools closed on the 18th. So term 1's work should have been completed as you see here. In other words, DNA, RNA, protein synthesis, replication, as well as meiosis, as well as when it comes to reproduction, diversity of reproductive strategies, structure of male and female reproductive systems, in other words, the whole of human reproduction, spending 3 weeks on that. And as I've already said, then in the Free State, we also gave time for revision of the human impact on the environment that come from grade 11. Now when we move, so nothing has changed here because it's done. It's history. It's not actually history because learners still have to revise it and still have to write 2 exams on it. But it's in terms of teaching, first time teaching, face-to-face teaching, as a matter of fact, it is then part of the first term's work. Scrolling down to term 2. Now I want to explain to you something that's on the desk cam here, where I quickly, just to show people, before we go to the ATP, how the next 3 months, or 4 months, 5 months, until the learners are writing, are now looking. If schools start as expected and as planned by the national government and DBE on the 1st of June, remember the initial first term, or the initial second term for that matter, won't then finish as was expected. So this second term will carry on right through June and right through July. What I want to focus on, for you to understand the ATP, the annual teaching plans of all 3 grades. If grade 12 start on the 1st, and the ATP says week 1 is 5 days. It means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Then the next week it's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. If the 16th is a public holiday, which it is, then you start here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you start for the next week. So the week is not a calendar week, the week is an academic week. Then this will be day 1, carrying then over to July, day 2, 3, etc. Just to keep you informed about how the calendar is going to be interpreted. Expected, and I'm not going to go there this morning because I'm quite sure that there's not yet an official school calendar released for post-COVID teaching. But it is expected that there will be a week, as you've heard, the reduction of the June holidays, the expected week, and I'm putting focus on the expected week for that 1 week holiday, will be the last week of June and the first week of July, with the schools then starting again on either the 6th or the 7th of July. But then we are still in term 2, not yet term 3, according to our new ATPs, revised ATPs. Term 2 will then carry on when you count your 5 days, 5 days, 5 days, up to the 31st of July. And then term 3 will start on the 3rd of August. And you count again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. There's a public holiday again. Then this is day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Rather there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, etc. Until you reach the expected day where the September exams, the trial exams, will start, which is expected to be on the 2nd of September. So the 1st of September will be the last day for teaching in term 3. Then there's an expected exam, trial exam, until the 23rd, and then the long weekend, which will then, according to the planners, be the only vacation or holiday, school holidays in September, with school starting again then on the 28th. So the 28th will be day 1 of the last term, term 4. And then that term carries on, you count the days until the final exam starts, and the draft final exam timetable, the draft one, says final exams start on the 26th of October this year, carrying on until the timetable is completed. So the last day for teaching in 2020, according to the plans currently, is the 23rd of October. With that in mind, let us go back to the ATP. Now you see the days that I'm referring to. If we start on the 1st of June, then 5 days, as I already explained, will be 5 days from there. The same with week 2, 3, 4, etc. So we start in term 2 with genetics. 1 week, a second week for the genetics, and a third week for genetics. I'm not going to refer now to detail inside. It's the same content, no waiting shift. It's exactly that. Don't bother too much with this figure here. It's a curriculum coverage figure that you don't have to look at or pay any attention to it currently. We will explain that later on. So genetics and inheritance up till week 4 of term 2, the new term 2. Then responding to the environment, human nervous system, week 5, 6, 7. And can I say at this stage, subject advisors, teachers, if you work or you advise people to work and people gain weeks. In other words, you manage without hurrying, you manage to finish genetics in 3 weeks instead of 4 weeks. Remember, later on we will tell you a lot of emphasis will be on informal assessment. We will come to assessment, but informal assessment will become crucial. But if you manage to save a week, good for you, because then you gain some time at the end to complete the curriculum. The same with the nervous system. Then, something that has been suggested since the revised ATP saw the light is that the endocrine system move also to the second term. So you have before this term, remember we said 31st of July, before this term ends, need to be finished with the endocrine system in humans. The rest of this document, people, you can go through, familiarize yourself with all the hints and all the suggestions given on resources, on informal assessment, and what you have. I'm not going to spend time on that now. Just take notice, here in the second term, we expect learners to write a test, a formal test, minimum 50 marks. The weighting, they are working on the weightings at National, and I suppose that SA SAMS will also be then been speaking the same weightings that we are showing here. We will come back to that weighting. Don't bother with that. But one test in term 2. In other words, what do you see? Practical tasks, assignments, all those others have been removed. Term 3. Remember, we said it started in August, beginning of August, and then when you count your days, we didn't add dates to the weeks because it can really confuse people, and when you fall behind a little bit or when you gain weeks, then that wouldn't make sense. So we kept just to the titles of the weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Now, in term 3, which has 21 days, counting, negative feedback mechanisms, plant hormones, where did we do homeostasis? Not yet, the endocrine system there. And then negative, okay, here it is, sorry. It's not written in so many words. Negative feedback mechanisms, which of course is part of homeostasis. And all those factors, including thermoregulation, should be covered. Then a whole week for plant hormones, plant defense mechanisms, and of course, which is not included, which is not shown here, the tropisms. The tropisms. Then, starting with evolution, the theories, the ways, and then of course natural selection, speciation, as well as reproductive isolation. Allocated 2 weeks, but now it becomes important. I will show you, that is why I say gaining weeks, because the suggested time frame was that in the 4th term, you should carry on and then do human evolution in the 4th term. But ladies and gentlemen, how will the trial exam then be written according to the current distribution of work? There is a suggested change for provinces that do not finish with human reproduction and provinces that did not do human impact in the 1st term or in the 2nd term, well, in the 1st term then, that there should be an adapted and an amended trial examination paper. But I really think that most provinces will go with a full trial exam, with a full paper 1 and a paper 2, and then complete the work until the end of human evolution at the end of term 3. That means that in term 4, if you have completed the work, you have this whole 4 weeks for proper revision of work. And if there's maybe aspects picked up during the trial exam, it can be still rectified in this 4 weeks until the final exam comes at the end of term 4. So I hope this will explain the new ATP or the revised ATP, annual teaching plan as we have it. Just back to assessment quickly. In the second term, there will be now a test. And here you see in the third term, there will also be a formal test, minimum 50 marks. And look in brackets, include practical investigation type of questions also in the test. Because remember, the practicals and the assignment have been removed. So you have to include, because we know it comes in the final and the trial exams, questions on practical work, investigations, variables, hypotheses, etc. Right. So I think this will explain the annual teaching plan properly. So let me go back to the presentation. And that document is the one that we have just looked at. So, to summarize, what have been changed? The topic human endocrine system was moved from term 3 to term 2 in the new revised ATP. The topic human evolution was suggested to move from term 3 to term 4, but as a province, we will complete it in term 3. That means, simply means, if schools start on the 1st of June properly, if everything is in place at schools and in classes for grade 12, and then there's no further major interruptions until the end of the year. We won't expect from teachers, listen very carefully, we won't expect from teachers to press everything until the end of term 3 if we see as managers that it's humanly impossible and that the learners are going to be not benefited from that. Then we will come and say, right, we will change what has been said today or been mediated today. But at this stage, with what is lying ahead of us, and if plans are going according to what is expected, this will be the situation. And then responding to the environment was reduced also, as we said, from 4 weeks to 3 weeks. Teaching sequence, exactly the same as in the past, or as we have done it in the province. No amendments to content topic weightings, especially for the final exam paper and the trial exam paper, exactly the same as in your current CAPS. Let's look at assessment. We've already spoke about it, but let's summarize it. Practical task, term 1, test term 1, done. Fortunately, in the Free State, we were able to complete these 2 tasks, mark it, and do remedial work on it. Term 2, as we said, 1 test, minimum 50 marks. Term 3, 1 test, minimum 50 marks. And then also a trial exam in term 3. And final exam then, NSC examination at the end of the year. So still 2 papers for the trial exam, still out of 150 marks each, 2.5 hours each, same with the NSC exam at the end. If we have to look at weightings, if you are curious on how the weightings will now be implemented, the practical task first term will count 20%. Remember, SPA in grade 12, 50% is trial exam and the other 50% is the rest of the year. So this 20 practical plus 10% for the test, another 10 for another test, another 10 for another test brings you up to 50, 20, 30, 40, 50. School year, school-based assessment throughout the year, and the other 50%, as it is currently in CAPS, the trial examination. So there are your revised program of assessment. Suggested revised trial exam, still 2 papers, still 150 marks, 2.5 hours. Now this is the suggested trial paper or papers if provinces do not finish in the third term. Then the idea was to remove human impact in paper 1 and remove human evolution in paper 2. But then all these other marks are adapted. But as I've already explained, we've opted to finish the curriculum at the end of term 3, which means that our September papers, apology, our September papers will be as is, as it was in the past, as well as it is now in this revised ATP and assessment. Right, going down, there you see, final exam, no changes at this stage. 2 papers, 150 mark each, 2.5 hours. Same content division, same weighting as in the past. Now, in conclusion, and I really invite you, there's my contact details at the bottom. And the next slide, you will see the contact details of the National CES for Life Sciences, Mr. Kanthan Naidu. But feel free, if this presentation, if you lost track at some stage of this presentation, because we want to put it all in a nutshell for you, but also with enough understanding so that you are able to start teaching when the children are coming back. Feel free, there's my cell number at the bottom, there's my email address. Feel free to phone or to mail me a question or two, which is not clear at this stage. Now, to summarize, use the available teaching time, including extra hours planned by many schools. I've already spoken to a lot of teachers. Many schools, most schools, are talking about going extra hours per day. So with that, complete the curriculum before the start of the September trial exams. Because in that way, we can identify shortcomings and do proper revision in the 4th term. Secondly, no one of us knows the outcome of this pandemic. At this stage, the trial papers will be on the whole curriculum. In other words, exactly the same weight distribution as in the final exams. Pay lots of attention to informal assessment. It includes content worksheets, short class tests, interpreting and drawing graphs, interpreting case studies, articles, writing essays, don't forget that, still part of grade 12 work, etc. After this, the 3 documents, PowerPoint, the ATP, as well as the content map, will be mailed or sent to you through WhatsApp. It is already done, as a matter of fact. But all these documents will also be uploaded by myself after this on this website, www.mindstream.co.za. And please, when you use Mindstream, don't go to login. Everybody thinks you must log in before you can work. That's only for the administrators. You go to FET curriculum. There's a little plus sign on the left-hand side. Click in there, go to FET curriculum, go to Life Sciences, and then there's a lot of options. And then I've created a sub-file that says COVID-19 support. And under that, you will find these documents. You will find content support in the forms of mind maps and glossaries for the whole curriculum, grade 12. You will find, it still has to be uploaded, you will find questions and answers, section A type of questions, section B type of questions, examples of past essays, etc., etc. So use that to your advantage. Also, parents that opted the way of homeschooling their children, that all these guidelines, of course, are applicable to you guys, as well as that website. It can be valuable. Second last, reach out and support one another in teaching and emotionally. especially the last word, very important. None of us are going back to school and will sit around doing nothing. So this the advice to teachers, 10, 11, 12 teachers, support one another in life sciences. Help when there's help to be given. If you have to teach a class, because the classes are smaller and in different venues, reach out and support. And of course, lastly, seek help and guidance from colleagues, from subject advisors, and from myself. You are never alone. And if I can get back to the camera view, well, where are we back? Ladies and gentlemen, subject advisors, teachers, parents, learners that watched this broadcast. Many people say we are going into a new normal. Normal will be different from now onwards. But I hope with the background given and the guidelines given in this presentation that you will be able to manage. And from our side, as curriculum advisory, to all our teachers out there, good luck, stay still, stay safe, subject advisors, look after yourself, stay safe, and let us do our utmost best to give to our children and to our teachers, of course, all the support that we can, so that we can still make a success of the academic year 2020. I thank you and goodbye.